Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Ethan and you are watching Stinky Platinums, a weekly, hopefully, video game news show and excuse to enable my platinum trophy hunting habits. This is a thing I kind of want to start up. I used to do these types of streams where I would play just some of the most shovelware, garbage video games in order to get platinum trophies. I always felt like there was something missing. There's a lot to talk about, but I needed a structure on what I might have wanted to say during all of this if the games themselves are not the focus. So I've decided, you know what? I've seen other people do this. I'm going to give it a shot. I have a lot of opinions about the news and video games, and I figured maybe a weekly video game news show, the end of a week, on a Saturday at this time, perhaps 8 p.m. Eastern time, might be how I want to do this. But this is a trial run. I figured this might be how I kind of want to do these types of streams. So, hello and welcome. So still figuring out a lot of how I want to do this, but we do have some main topics over there on the right that we're going to talk about. I'm kind of just going to go down them in order. And we're going to be playing a couple of these Stinky Platinums, as I have belovedly called them in the past, while we discuss some of the news, and maybe I share some opinions that you might not have heard before on these topics. To kind of reiterate what a Stinky Platinum is, because I've done a lot of these streams on Twitch. This is the third type of this, stream on this channel here on YouTube, the Sonic Movie Show, rebrand perhaps in the future. But to catch people up on what a Stinky Platinum is, it is a game, and it can be released on Xbox and Steam and Nintendo, although don't know why people would buy them there. The appeal is not there if there isn't trophies or achievements, but these can range from honest-to-God amateur indie games. Someone come out and be like, hey, I want to make a video game, and then they try their best, and this is what they have. There's charm to it, or there's an attempt there. It ranges from that all the way over to just the most asset flip, slop, garbage shovelware. I have an entire folder here. There's currently only 20 in there. I buy these when they're on sale. Games that are like just asset flips. They had a template and they replace the image and they keep going. So they range from that to that, but the thing that connects them all is that the trophies or achievements are very easy and pretty much guaranteed if you're trying to get them in a couple hours probably less for a lot of these. There are a few of these long adventure games that I've stumbled into where I'm like, oh no, this is a lot longer than I would like. So for the interest of time, I have also cataloged all of the games that I have purchased that we haven't gone through on streams, and I've kind of looked at their trophy lists and looked on PSN profiles, and I've kind of rated them out of 5 stars on how attentive I need to be and how maybe long they would take. So we're going to start off with one of the games from Stinky Platinums 2 here, this little list I have, and then we're going to pick a list from this, we're going to pick a game from this list afterwards. I kind of maybe want one that is a little bit easy, but we will see. But there's a lot of news, so we're going to hop into it. Now, while I am, I guess, mainly PlayStation focused in where I play video games, I do love Nintendo a lot. I am a fan of the idea of Xbox and all of the things that were unique and exclusive to them, and I am a PC gamer to an extent as well. I play games on PC, but that's not my primary platform. So there is a bit of a bias on things that I enjoy that I might lean towards when we talk about some of these topics, and that's why the very first one is the PlayStation 5 Pro, and the fact that it is $700 US. This being our first test on this stuff, I don't know how long some of these Stinky Platinums are going to take. I know these are easy, all of these jumping games, and there's also similar types of games where you stroke an animal, and I think there's quiz games as well. But I'm going through all the jumping ones first, and there's a lot of them still. There's 20 in this list. We're going to do one of these a stream every week, and then one, maybe 2 of the other types of Stinky Platinums, the more video game-like, and I say that in quotes because some of them are just stories that you read that we could mash through. At least one of those, if not maybe 2, depending on how long we want to go with this. So this is all, trial by fire here. We're going to figure this out together on how we want to do this. But, yeah, PlayStation 5 Pro is $700 US. I watched that 9-minute long Mark Cerny Games, Cerny Games is actually his company that he still has. I watched that 9-minute long presentation, I guess you would want to call it, that he had done, and not convinced that it's worth $700, but here's the thing, it costs $700 because it can cost $700. And I think if there wasn't a statement by Microsoft at some point months ago or maybe last year that, hey, yeah, probably we're not going to do that, I think that was maybe in the leak. The accidental Microsoft spilling their guts in that FTC lawsuit, which they then blamed on the FTC, but it was Microsoft's fault, saying that, yeah, we're not going to do a mid-generation kind of upgrade console. I think if Sony didn't know if they were going to do that or not, and these people also have, I don't want to say Cold War-esque spies amongst the industry, but they kind of know what everyone's doing to an extent. If they didn't know what Microsoft was doing, I could have seen them lowering that price down to maybe $600. Going into it, I'm like, oh yeah, $650 is probably going to be what it is. But that's not the case, is it? It is $700 US because it has no competition, and it is marketed towards the PlayStation fanatic. There's a lot of them. I would consider myself one of them. It's my primary gaming platform. I literally am doing this for trophies right now. A lot of the stuff that they've made hardware-wise has been aimed at that market. Yes, when the system first came out, the original PlayStation 5 in 2020, they had, relatively cheap accessories with a pair of headphones. I think they were $99, $100, that were, decently good quality, and they were comparable to one of the tiers of the PS4 ones within maybe the highest one. I actually had that Platinum headset snapped in half on me. I had the gold version before that, snapped in half on me. I don't treat my stuff very well. That was like $100, but then they had, you know, like you could get the charging cradle. I got that for the controllers. That was maybe 30. And then there was the little stupid little media remote, 30. That stuff, cool. But then once we get into, oh yeah, now Sony's hardware business is making monitors and it's making PC headsets. That stuff's pretty high priced. Those monitors I hear are decently good, considering the kind of competition PC monitors tend to have. There's more TV standard type stuff in there from what I've been told with OLED stuff. But besides that, you get Sony's hardware division, just not PlayStation, but Sony being like, we gotta make a VR headset. And PlayStation most likely, supposedly, being like, sure, we can't guarantee we'll support it all that much, but, you know, it's gotta be PlayStation brand if it's a Sony VR headset, so PSVR 2, believe that was $550? $600 with a bundle with that Horizon game that people like. Is that the Platinum? Did I just get that? People like that game, I think, but I don't know if that's just because they like the idea of having a PlayStation VR 2 headset. Anyway, beyond that, then we get into the real expensive stuff that they started. Pro controllers, they had that DualSense Edge. I don't own one. It's $200. They sell those analog stick things, replacements for them. I think we just knocked this out. They sell those. I think those are $20. They sell the cover plates. Those are, I think, like $50. I own the red ones for the base original PS5 model with the disc drive. I got mine on launch day. And I got that on a sale, and I never took it out of the box because I'm like, oh, one day this, you know, this is the type of stuff that isn't sold too well, so, you know, 10 years down the line, it's a good collector's item. And, of course, I think I got the most popular color besides black, but still. Those are expensive, and they don't need to be. It is literally molded plastic. And then we have the PlayStation Portal. That's also $200. Has a screen and a battery, so I get it. The floor cannot be $5. It's probably close to $200 in actual value, you know, under that. But then we also get the upgraded headset, which was $150, and the earbuds, which are $200. High prices, meant, I don't remember what this term is, but meant to give the majority of its audience a sticker shock to conflate value and be like, oh wow, I guess this stuff is expensive, and B, to kind of edge on the most hardcore audience that is, you know, they're self-selecting in. They're not discerning on value. They're like, yes, this is Thing. I like thing that Thing makes. I will buy this product. $200 for a controller, fine. These things, and the Xbox equivalent, are like $70, and they feel like they're worth that to me. They feel durable. They feel like they're not going to break apart unless you are a maniac throwing your controller around. They feel worth it. Especially over, like, you know, Mad Catz isn't around anymore, but Hori or PDP, or there's another one as well. And then there's 8BitDo. Those are much cheaper, but they feel significantly worse than one of these. There's pro, you know, enthusiast model brands as well, like Scuff makes expensive controllers, but the difference between a $70 PS5 controller and the DualSense Edge being $200 does not feel like it's worth more than twice what the original costs. And that's where we get into the PlayStation 5 Pro. It costs $700 because it wants to give you that same sticker shock. It wants to give people who are like, ugh, why would I get that? Just the regular PS5 is fine. They want those people to be like, oh, no thanks, that's a lot of money. I don't even want to trade mine in. We're just going to stick with PlayStation 5. That's good enough for me. But they want those super hardcore fans to get it, and they know that that is the pretty much only audience that would get it. Over 100 million PlayStation 4s are sold, have been sold so far. I'm sure they still sell some, maybe. I don't know if they actually stopped manufacturing them. I don't know. Over 100 million. It's in that upper echelon with, like, the Game Boy, PS2, Wii, DS. PS2 still number one. I think the PlayStation 1 is also up there. And, of that, 100 plus million that they've sold, it was something like 15% of that total were PS4 Pros. So a small minority of the total amount of PS4s sold were Pros. But then of that amount, the majority of Pros were sold to people who already purchased a PlayStation 4. They were double dipping. These are people, the super fans, and I was one of them, who got a PlayStation 4 earlier. I didn't get mine at launch. I think I got mine 9 months after. I got it when Diablo 3 came to PlayStation 4. That's when I got it. I don't know why I waited, but still. And then those types of people are like, oh, there's a Pro, it's a better version. And this was when there were 4K TVs and there was an actual selling, pitch of like, hey, you can get this console for your 4K TV. It's a PlayStation 4 for your 4K TV. And look, stuff looks a little bit better. 4K, that's better than 1080p by a lot. That was the pitch. This time around, there's no pitch. That's like that. That is that. Yeah, there's some 8K TVs out there, but no one owns them and no game supports them. Supposedly, Polyphony Digital is going to try to make a mode for Gran Turismo 7 that runs in 8K on the PS5 Pro. Cool. That's a company that has made versions of Gran Turismo that support multiple televisions. If you have multiple PlayStation 3s with multiple copies of Gran Turismo 5 running on them, 5 and 6 are like that. You can have that, like, 3, maybe 5, if I'm not mistaken, like, TV'd window thing if you have... Like, they're the company that does that, so we'll put them aside. No 8K games. Probably ever. Because these games look pretty much good as it is, and we're getting diminishing returns. And so what the pitch now for PS5 Pro is, it's got a bit better of a GPU that can help support their new machine learning image upscaling thing, a resolution boost. DLSS, FSR, XCSS, it's PlayStation's equivalent of that, called PSSR, which a lot of people have justifiably referred to as Pisser. We'll see if it's much better than the version of FSR 2 that runs on a lot of PS5 games, or a lot of PS5 games run on. We'll see, because there are some games where I'm like, I feel like this is a crutch, or of like, hey, we cannot get it to run at the resolution and frame rates that would be acceptable, so here's a crutch. What it essentially does is you can have your actual game rendering at a very low resolution, sometimes shockingly low, and then this AI, machine learning, not generative AI, but machine learning image upscaler takes that internal resolution, and then, as to my knowledge, as it's being delivered to your television, upscales it as best it can. So that's how we're seeing some of these games that are rendering as low as perhaps 720p internally be 1440p, and it's always a dynamic resolution. And with FSR2, I've seen some games look just butt ugly, where like, man, you're looking at a character with hair and they're moving around and you're just seeing like the hair is just gross looking, very much like digital hay between the pixels, and smeary and not good. Stuff looks a lot better on PC if you have a higher end graphics card than what is within the PlayStation 5, right? So maybe, let's hope that a PlayStation solution to this looks better. Now, here's the thing. The video that they showed didn't show it off very well. Other people have said this many a time, but I believe it was a 1080p stream at the time. And you can go back and watch it, I believe, in a 4K video now. Didn't notice a difference, personally. And they just didn't do it very well, did they? They showed a lot of zoomed-in, like, postage stamp on your screen, sized picture-in-picture, type of stuff, comparing the things, and it's a bad look when, like, me, a more, I guess, discerning gamer that knows about the stuff. I watch Digital Foundry, and I look at all that type of stuff, and I care to a degree about that stuff. If I'm that person who knows what to look for, still like, I can't tell between these two images which one really looks better. Like, I know what to look for. It looks a bit better. Is that worth me purchasing a $700 machine? I don't know. And then they don't do themselves any favors by then doing frame rate versions. There's a lot of disingenuous people online, obviously, who will like then take a screenshot of, here's the Ratchet & Clank frame rate comparison, And that they're like, oh, it looks the same. Like, well, it's a picture of what was supposed to be a clip comparing frame rates. Of course, it's going to not look better because they're both supposedly in 4K or whatever resolution Ratchet was in its fidelity mode. That is the pitch. That we're not going to have to pick as often between fidelity and performance in these games. Some games have multiple SKUs. Those Insomniac games like Spider-Man and Ratchet have multiple things with them. So we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of games that still does that. The Harry Potter game looked like that was still 30 frames per second, but who knows? It was a bad showing. YouTube compression ate the shit out of that, and no one could tell. And honestly, when like one of your big games you're showing is The Last of Us Part 2, and it's a PS4 game, yes, they were showing the PS5 Remastered, but that PS5 Remastered is such a minor upgrade visually over what that PS4 game could do on a PS5 already, that it's a $10 upgrade. So it's not like the Last of Us Part 1 remake, where it's like, no, this is like a new game, buy it. It's not new graphics, it's just running a little bit better. A little bit better. $10 worth of better. It's got an extra mode, but still. But when like a PS4 game in Ghost of Tsushima, it was the same way. Like, yes, there's a PS5 version, but these were games made for an older console. A 2013 console. An 11-year-old machine that is like a 15-year-old, or maybe 14, probably 13-year-old hardware. You know what I mean? It is wild that those were the choice. No new games, because they're probably going to have a state of play soonish that is announcing a couple, hopefully. I'd like to see what Naughty Dog's new game is, but I'm not holding my breath. So it's a bad showing. It's a very bad showing. But it's $700 because they know that the market for it is small, is not discerning. They don't care. They're going to buy it anyway because they're super fans. I will probably get one at some point. And because it's kind of a power statement. They've been raising the prices of PS5 in a lot of markets, not the United States. I think they're kind of basing at least the Japanese price off the dollar to yen conversion, because they've raised it, I think, 2 times, maybe 3, in the PS5's life so far in Japan. And it's been just basically now meeting what that $500 is in America, but they don't have a problem never doing any price cuts and only doing price increases. They're realizing that it doesn't matter. People are still going to buy that stuff anyway. I can see maybe at the end of the generation, maybe $100 price cut on a base PS5, and that will probably be no disc. You know what I mean? It'll be, or no, they're $450 now, those digital ones. So it'll be $400 again, just like how it was, you know, X amount of years ago by the time they finally do that. So that's why the PS5 Pro is $700. Quite frankly, it's because they can. It's insane. Let's pick another game. I'm going to look at this list here and see. I want one that's 2 stars, because I don't want one that's too intense, so we can keep talking. Because again, this is a trial kind of stream. I'm looking here. I like the idea of Attack of the Toy Tanks. So I guess we're going to do that. I'm going to type into esnprofiles.com, and we're going to look for Attack of the Toy Tanks. Search can be sometimes finicky. This is a PlayStation... Oh, it's right here on the screen. A PlayStation 4 title. There's a Vita version. I most likely have that Vita version. We can try out at some point. I wrote down that it has 30 levels. And I wrote light list look, which to me says, hey, I might not need to reference it this much. Get a silver ranking, get a gold, and die. Okay, I think we're going to be fine. Complete 30 levels, die, and then do some of them well. Easy. But yeah, PlayStation 5 Pro is expensive as hell because it can be. We'll see how it works out. I have a feeling that by the time they show games running on it, and they can more properly show the difference between, like, new games, rather, where they can show the difference between base PS5 and the new one, that perhaps, there's multiplayer, perhaps, the narrative will turn around and be like, oh, and people will be like, oh, this is not garbage. This is not complete garbage. Another thing to mention, doesn't come with a disc drive. You have to buy the $80 attachment, which to me seems like a middle finger. And select the level. Do they go up to 30, or if we're having trouble, can we skip it? Okay, we can skip a level if we need to. We'll see. We know what this game really is. Looks like you just drive around with a tank and you shoot guys. $80 for that, oh god. $80 for that disc drive. We got the gold. They're also gonna give us silver. No, we need to do poor enough to get silver. Interesting. I see. I guess. $80 for that disc drive. It doesn't come with one, and to me that seems more... there's our silver. Seems more of a middle finger, because for the audience that they know is going to buy this, they're a pretty high percent of... that amount of people, that group of people, has a higher percent of people who have a physical library, and my prediction, than the overall PlayStation audience. A lot of people went digital this time around, and late into the PS4's life. I cannot blame them. I'm not one of those people, but I cannot blame them. Cool, we died. There's a trophy. Now we just gotta do 30 levels. So it's almost like, yeah, your hardcore fans who you know would want a disc drive aren't getting one. Too bad. They have to buy one. So that's really a $780 console. And those are the type of people who would want to be able to display their PS5 up vertically. Another $30 for that stand. It didn't come with the PS5 digital. Damn, this is harder than I thought. It didn't come with the PS5 digital edition, which made sense for the slim model. Oh wow, that one shot the other one. That's it. But then that was like, okay, yeah, so for $50 more, you're getting the disc drive. And it's $80, so you're gonna feel like a damn idiot if you buy the digital and then later decide to get a disc drive, because you're not looking at it as like a bonus value that you're getting. You're looking at it as a, oh crap, I wasted $30 on this bad decision. And maybe you couldn't find the physical edition in a store, and so you're like, I really want a PS5. I don't know what to tell you, but stuff sucks all around. I think that's kind of it for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Next up on the kind of agenda here I want to talk about is Flappy Bird. People probably have forgotten about this mobile game. It was 10 years ago. I don't know exactly when in 2014 it was. But there was a mobile game called Flappy Bird. It was a basic bird that was, I believe the art asset for the bird was ripped off from another mobile game. And the environment looked like it was heavily inspired, if not kind of copied, from Super Mario Brothers. The bird was trying to go to the right of the screen, and you had to press the screen, tap the screen to make it flap to go up. And there was gaps between pipes, you know, randomly up and down that you had to navigate through. Very basic idea. Inspired so many clones and rip-offs. Frog Fractions 2 had a pretty funny version of that, where you had to, it was like a clicker game, where you had to like buy and sell things in order to increase your altitude, and it was interesting. But in any case, a Vietnamese gentleman named, let me see if I can find this again. His name was Dong Nguyen, I believe, had developed that game. I believe it was a purchasable game. I don't think it had in-app purchases. It was a game I think you had to buy, because he made a lot of money off of it, and then felt like an immense amount of guilt either maybe because of the money he had gotten off of something that was not worthy of it, probably in his mind, but also, like, people were getting addicted to it, and he didn't like that. So he pulled it. He said, I'm sorry, I need to get rid of it. I played it, and I liked it fine. I'm not a big mobile game time waster type of person. So now, 10 years later, in this day and age, a company called Flappy Bird Holdings, I believe, announced, oh yeah, Flappy Bird is back. Tell all your friends. Okay, that's how you can go backwards. Press dying a lot. Yeah, Flappy Bird is back, and it's got even more than previously flapped before, and we acquired the rights, the trademark for Flappy Bird, and we also got the rights to the game that the guy had, like, kind of ripped that bird asset off of. So we own everything. Cool, it's back, and all that stuff. And I read that press statement, and oh, there's lasers. I read that press statement, and I'm like, this is interesting. They don't mention the guy at all. Like, they probably bought it from him, but they're not going to mention, like, and Mr. News, a classic title is returning for fans once again, or anything like that. It's just, it's back. We bought it, and it's back. Okay. People dug into it. Turns out, the reason why they got that is because the trademark was open. Because the gentleman who deleted the game wanted it gone from existence, he wasn't going to try to... dying left and right here. He wasn't going to try to bring it back, so he never re-upped the trademark. So it was considered abandoned, I guess in Vietnamese trademark copyright law, or other places. I don't know exactly how that works on a global scale. I know basically if you've done something first in the United States, it's considered yours. Like if I draw a picture, or I've used and made a song, or used a name, I don't need to file for a trademark if I can prove that I did it before other people. Trademark is awarded to me. I don't know how it works on a global scale with other places. They apparently do, and I guess in that court filing for it, they were like, hey, it's abandoned, so we should have it, because, I mean, it's never going to happen again. And maybe they had bought the other game before that. Who knows? Say has proof. But apparently they did. Yeah, that original creator didn't get paid for this at all. And pretty clearly doesn't want it back. And not only that, but this new Flappy Bird kind of version, it's more than just what the original game is. It looks like it's been rebuilt, so the graphics are a little bit different. I'm hitting triangle, and I think that's a restart. I think that's why, even though we're winning, we're restarting. It's got crypto stuff in it. Supposedly, it has a lot of NFT type of investors into it. Next level. I'm hitting triangle to hit restart when I want next level. It's like a shill for NFT stuff, because of course that's what you do with... How did I die? That's what you do with an intellectual property that exists. If you're an uncreative person and you're a crypto loser, you know, an NFT, Web3, you know, uncreative type of person, a lot of the games that are on the store now that are Stinky Platinums, by the way, have AI-generated art in them. Oftentimes their cover image is like that. Uncreative person making a video game is interesting. They'll get them on sales, though, so I guess I'm part of the problem. I want to know how I died. Oh, they can still... They can shoot over the red because it's low. I see. I see. Yeah, Flappy Bird is back, but it might not be a morally safe game to play, if that makes sense. The original creator was not even contacted, let alone involved. And he wanted it gone for a reason, and it's also filled with NFT nonsense, or at least promotes NFT nonsense, then that's a bad idea. Okay. I wasn't all that interested in it when it first was announced or re-announced or whatever. What does R2 do? Still shoot. Oh, I can just use the right stick to aim. It makes things so much easier. I was like having to turn in order to aim at these. That would make sense. I think that was all of them. They said levels, but I didn't do 30 levels. Hold on. Let's refresh our status here. So that's Flappy Bird. Next on the agenda here, actually we're going to hop over to Eurogamer for this article. Very simple. There was a study by Sky News last year. They also held one the year prior, where they, what's the word? Interviewed or polled women gamers on the internet, and asked them, hey, are you getting like misogynistic or just harassment in general after being acknowledged by those people that you are a woman? And last year it was 72% reported yes. Now it's 65%, still high. So basically about 2/3 of women, if we want to take this 1,000 person sample size to, encompass the entirety of the internet, experience misogyny on the internet, which is insane. We don't need to go too much onto it. It should be obvious that misogyny is just weird and wrong. Oh, it was destroy 30. It's destroy 70, but then there's trophies for the levels themselves. Okay, we're still good. Some of these games, sometimes, they mess up. Things aren't being tracked accordingly. Anyway. Yeah, it should be obvious that, obviously, misogyny is wrong. I feel like if you're a human being or an adult, you would know that, but still a lot of people do it anyway. And what is interesting as well, there was also a report that the types of people that were doing it tended to be lower ranked people in multiplayer games, which presumably would be lower skill, and the people that were usually higher skill are, generally speaking, more likely to be supportive and helpful, or helpful to, I guess, these women gamers that were polled on this. Now, people are assholes in general, but we all know that there is an extra level of hate towards non-white guys on the internet in video games. And there's a lot of people in real life that are also like that as well, that have that kind of hatred. We're going into very obvious things, but there are people out there that if they know that you are not white or know that you're not a man, and let's say they feel insulted or they feel belittled or they feel embarrassed and they need to lash out, well, they're going to just pick what they deem as an easy target because they know what the easy things to say to piss off normal people who aren't like them. And they double down into that type of stuff. So it does not surprise me that that number is still the way it is. It shouldn't be that high. And obviously the only thing that we can do as normal adults is to just be normal adults on the internet. Now, I believe, like I mentioned, this group of 1,000-ish people were polled, and the sample sizes, these are people who, they either said they were a woman or, their profile picture clearly showed a woman or, whatever. There was an assumption that these people that these harassers were targeting were women. It wasn't just in general misogyny on random people. It was targeted misogyny. That still sucks. The only way to change that, like I said, is just to lead by example and be good people. Still working on this. This is a harder game than I thought. They're experts in at least do that. Damn, pincered. Okay, next on the agenda, the Dreamcast turned 25 5 days ago. on $99.99 in America. It turned 25 last year in Japan, but that Dreamcast launch in Japan, to me, my knowledge, was less eventful. I know we got Sonic on launch day. They did not. In fact, Sonic Adventure was one of the kinds of games in that era where they would release in Japan, maybe too early. In the case of Sonic, I think it was missing a couple features. And then it would come to America, and during that translation process, a lot of JRPGs are like this, they add a couple things to the game. And then that game gets re-released in Japan as an international edition that has the missing stuff, and then sometimes even more things as well. Kingdom Hearts fans know that very well. Final Fantasy X fans know that very well. $99.99 was also Final Fantasy VIII's anniversary as well. I'm not sure if that was not global, it wouldn't have been global, but Japan or America. I lost track of which direction I was facing. So yeah, I don't have too many fond memories of the Dreamcast. I never owned one as a child. I would have been 4 years old when the Dreamcast came out. I was into Nintendo 64 and some PlayStation 1, and then 2000 rolled around, and we traded in our PlayStation 1 for a PlayStation 2, so for me, next year is a bigger anniversary for me, 25 anniversary of the PlayStation. Big games like Tekken and Tekken Tag and Ridge Racer 5? Yeah, 5 was PS2. Yes, because there were 4 of them on PlayStation 1 in arcades. It was Virtua Fighter 4, though. Like second. But I played some of those Dreamcast games on PlayStation 2 and GameCube. I played Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube. Played Crazy Taxi on the PlayStation 2. I know Jet Set was on Jet Set Radio Future, or Jet Grind Radio. One of them is a Japanese name for the sequel. That was on Xbox. But the Dreamcast, to me, just looking back on it, was always such a weird console where it's like, there aren't too many, like, oh, gotta have it games. Kind of similar to the GameCube in that sense. But, like, there was some bangers on there. Soul Calibur is an intensely amazing game. Mr. Driller, as well. But was also on PlayStation 1. Another incredible game. And I am a huge defender of the original Sonic Adventure. I think, and the credit, I didn't play that one at the time. I didn't even play it on GameCube until much later. I played Sonic Adventure 2 first. That was my first Sonic game. But Sonic Adventure 1 was, to me, a very obvious, this is what the future of video games could be type of game. Look at all of the things that we're doing in this game, the different game types, different game styles, all in this big hodgepodge. Was it executed very well? No, but it was like a big celebratory tech demo in a sense, to be. Sonic Adventure was like, hey, here are several futures for video games. What do you want to see? We have your 3D Sonics, but we also have ideas for fishing games and shooting games. And, you know, we basically copied Panzer Dragoon and made you walk. And you're shooting the same way. So that game is special. And you have, like, just goofy darlings like Choo Choo Rocket and Seaman. A game I really want to play through on this channel. I want to play through Seaman on a Dreamcast on this channel. I've never played it before. I've watched it being played. Okay. This game is a lot harder than it looks. Granted, I'm talking while we're doing this. I'm also a little bit sick as well. My nose is a little bit stuffed. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and I will be right back. Give me 2-3 minutes. Microphone was muted. But alright, and we're back. Was getting a little bit sick. I was sick a few days ago, and it went away, and now it's coming back, so my nose was stuffy. Had to go blow my nose. I just use big paper towels now. I don't get those tissues. I need something heavy duty. Tissues to me, I'm like using 2 tissues when I just need 1 paper towel. And I'm using like the half strips, which is basically if you were to unfold the tissue. Not that you would do that because they're already pretty garbage. Use a paper towel to bleed. Feels good. The scrape feels good. But the Dreamcast turned 25 in America. Has a lot of interesting games on it, but it died very quickly. It basically had 2.5 years, maybe 3, depending if you're looking at the Japanese launch. And it died pretty quickly. One of my favorite little facts about that generation of video games, by the way, is that there are 4 games that were released on the Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, the Nintendo GameCube, and the Xbox. 4 games. NBA 2K 2000 or 2001? Maybe 2002. Actually, no, it would have been 02, which was published by Sega at the time, was released on all 4 platforms, and I forget what the other 3 are. I'm a sucker for collecting video games, excuse me, and I'm a sucker for collecting weird little niche ideas, and so I do want to have all 4 copies of all 4 of those games. I think that is neat. We're gonna do it. There we go. We did it. Oh, that's not fair. Not fair at all. Jeez, you gotta be stealthy with these tanks. Just not do it. You gotta be real stealthy. Really, really stealthy. Have the juice. It's harder than I thought it would be. I wanted to back up and I went forward. Shouldn't have done that. But yeah, that was Sega's last console. There are, I know the designer of Sega Gaga, the like weird swan song video game, that was released basically almost kind of in secret in terms of overall Sega knowledge, corporate knowledge. The designer of that game wants to like bring it back in some degree. The translation, like that would be cool. I've heard it's like a weird melancholic like eulogy for the company because they're changing. They're no longer making hardware, and you know, enough has been said about Sega in the 90s deciding, hey, what if we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hardware platforms and running concurrently at once. And what if we made games for all of them? What if we still made Master System games, even though we have the Sega Master System, or Sega Mega Drive, otherwise known as the Genesis? What if we still made Master System versions of those games? And we also have that Game Gear handheld. What if we made games for that as well? And the Mega Drive, that Genesis, needs a CD add-on, so we need games for those. And then there's the 32X enhancement device. I guess that's their Pro model that goes in the Genesis. We need games for that as well. Some games are going to also want to be on CDs that are 32X games, so we need ones for those. And we also have the Sega Pico thing, which is actually coming back, which is an early child development, like, book video game thing. Also, there's the Sega Nomad, which is just a portable Genesis. And what if we did all of this at once, barely made games for all of them, because we're having to support so many different platforms, And why aren't we making a lot of money? We still do stuff in the arcade as well. By the way, Virtua Fighter was starting to come out and be big at that time. And Virtua Racing as well. Very cool game. Very neat video game. And we actually have leaked 1994, 3, and I think 5? Definitely 94. Huge list of documents of sales data, emails, memos about Sega at that time. Insane. And we get to see, oh, this game sold pretty bad. Here's a memo saying, hey, we need to reduce the price of the 32X and all that stuff. And then they had the big disaster with the Sega Saturn. It was not meant to be a 3D console. It became a 3D console, to my understanding, by essentially just literally doubling the GPU cores in it. Back then, video game consoles used to be unique and were in just PC architecture. Custom problems get custom solutions. Nintendo 64 was a really weird machine, but when they saw the PlayStation was going to be this 3D beast, green balls ricochet. When they saw the PlayStation, they're like, shit, we gotta do 3D. We thought the arcade was gonna be our 3D home. And we were gonna make the most ultimate 2D machine with the Sega Saturn. So they failed that completely. And they needed to, alright, we got 20 more levels to go. They needed to bounce back. Sega Saturn had great games on it. It had some parity with some PlayStation games. No parity. I'm gonna blow my nose. No parity with the Nintendo 64 games, but Nintendo 64 barely had any games. Give me 1 second. You know, it's talking a lot is what brings it back. I was doing good all day, and now I'm starting to talk a bunch on camera, and it's starting to really, really build up. But this is a test episode. We're just trying things out. Trying to see. Where am I? But yeah, they had to turn things around with the Dreamcast, and then they're struggling with deciding what type of hardware they're going to use. They literally had an American and Japanese hardware teams design essentially the base specs of what it would be, and then they decided, you know, we actually are a Japanese company, let's just go with the Japanese one. I think they named them after swords. There was Katana, and I don't know what the Western machine was called. But it was similar to the Naomi arcade hardware that they were using at the time. So it kind of worked out for stuff like they're recently releasing, I don't know if it's out yet, Marvel vs. Capcom Collection, Milestone. Oh, okay, level 540, sure. The Sega had a full start with the Dreamcast, but they had a lot of cool ideas. The Dreamcast had online, it had, you know, actual modem hookup in it. We would call an Ethernet port now, but it had that actually on the machine. The PlayStation 2 would need an adapter. I have that adapter. It also doubles as a way to interface with hard drives at the time. I forget what the pin connector is called for those style hard drives. But it interfaces with that. Okay, sure. I think the Xbox also had it on. And I think the GameCube also needed an adapter, but they barely tried with GameCube when it came to the internet. I know Kirby's Air Ride for the GameCube had a thing on the menu called LAN mode. I did not know what that meant as a child. And then Googling it, I don't think I Googled it. I think I just learned in retrospect afterwards that, oh yeah, that's code for connecting a bunch of consoles together for, like, everyone gets their own TV. That's what PC gaming is. But the Dreamcast had that in there. It had motion control stuff with the fishing controller for Sega Bass Fishing, which you could also use sort of as a regular controller. I think people as a meme would play Soul Calibur with it. But it had games. It's a unique console that is very beloved. People can still make games for it today. Piracy was a big problem with it. It was very easy to just burn CDRs with games on them and run them. But the memory card was in the controller and had a screen on it because they wanted to copy the Tamagotchi idea, and that worked out for them. It was neat. It was cool. I like that idea a lot. They also sold memory cards that didn't have the screen in it, so, you know, you could just still use it as a memory card. Which is interesting considering that the Saturn just had a battery-powered battery backup on console. It didn't actually need memory card. So that was an interesting downgrade, but they justified that by having it have a screen. And you do stuff with the screen. And I'm getting sicker and sicker. I'll blow my nose again. That time it felt like there was a like a root core to that. Very interesting. Uh-oh, the stream might not be getting the full bitrate. Let's see here. On my end here, it is showing over 8,000. I guess we're still good. The YouTube Studio was like, hey, you don't have a good enough quality coming in. It's interesting because I am streaming at a higher bitrate than 1080p 60 is required. Weird. We're going to keep it going. I see my oh, and the thing goes away. Alright, there we go. So yeah, the Dreamcast, a cool console. I would like to own one, maybe mod it with, one of those, what's it called? SD card, hookup interfaces instead of having the CD drive. But then I'm also the kind of person that's like, nah, I also just, like, want to have the machine for real, so then I'd have to buy a second one. Keep normally, because I have a disc of Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast. I would like a Sonic Adventure 2 disc. I would like one of those a lot. But yeah, shoutouts to the Dreamcast for existing. And all of that. Oh, I know why, because I'm dropping some frames. But not due to rendering or coding, due to the network. That is interesting. Very interesting. We're going to have to keep it going, though. No stopping this. There's no stopping this. I do not know what level we're on. Yeah. Next on the agenda, Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2 is teased by Konami in the sense that they want to do it, but they are unsure exactly how they're going to do it. Put it bluntly, and do this. I didn't realize the laser was freaking cracking. Oh, this one was shooting out mines? Oh, interesting. They had a behind-the-scenes, very transparent talk, which I'm appreciating that they're doing that with Metal Gear. They talk about Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. They're like, we would rather err on too faithful than not faithful enough. because they really want to get back in the fans' good graces. They want to be able to prove that, hey, you're not the same Konami that made Metal Gear Survive. You're not the same Konami that decided to get out of console gaming in general and just do cash grab stuff. We can be trusted with this franchise, you know. And that Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 collection, I have it on disc, and I also bought it digitally at the time. I got the disc really cheap. Is neat. You cannot replicate the PlayStation 2's and 3's analog buttons. So it's like the Xbox 360 version of 2 and 3's way of doing that, where you click at a stick, but I never actually played Metal Gear Solid 1 in that collection yet. I would like to do that maybe on streams at some point. We'll go through those games and platinum them. Oh, if I can just spam the... But anyway, they were talking about a potential of a Metal Gear Solid Volume 2 collection. They said, basically, like, yeah, we are going to do something. We called it Volume 1 for a reason. And I know a lot of people at the time were like, when it first came out, that first one, be like, well, it's called Volume 1, so obviously they are going to do a Volume 2. That does not mean that. I still have in my PlayStation 3 collection, PlayStation Network Greatest Hits Volume 1. There was not a Volume 2. Just because they say a Volume 1 doesn't mean that there's going to be a Volume 2. Obviously. Die, please. Not me, the other tank. And in that discussion of the Metal Gear Solid Volume 2 collection, they stated that they have to figure out how they want to handle certain games. They basically admitted, yeah, I mean, there are HD versions of 2 and 3. Not much effort was needed to convert them, because Blue Point does a really good job. Not with Shadow of the Colossus, though. They ruined the PS3 version of Shadow of the Colossus, I guess I should specify. They ruined the physics with that. I want to get that platinum on the PlayStation 3 version, that HD version, and it's going to be tough, that time attack mode. I talked about that in that what makes a good platinum, or makes a good trophy list video I made. Come on. Anyway, they acknowledged, oh yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, you know, we had a very easy way of doing it. Metal Gear Solid 1, I haven't played it, but it's not like it's in HD, it is just presented within that HD container. It's the same original resolution, to my knowledge. It might be slightly higher. Nintendo 64 games tend to be like that, where it's a higher resolution than what was actually being displayed on television due to some technical reason. So there was more work involved, and, you know, and now we're getting to the point where there are some big games that are big file sizes. And how do they want to handle that? I would like them to do more than 2 volumes in the sense that I would like them to encompass the entirety of Metal Gear Solid free Delta. This includes Survive. And so to me, how you fairly milk this out is Volume 2 would be Peace Walker. Well, it would be Metal Gear Solid 4 and Peace Walker. And Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus. And maybe that's it. But throw in Metal Gear Ghost Babel for the Game Boy Color, which here was just known as Metal Gear Solid in America. Nice, it killed itself. Throw that in there. You got, and maybe not Portable. Yeah, but I guess you would have to do Portable Ops. Here's the thing. If they want to do a third version, it'll be like Revengeance and Metal Gear Solid 5, and then Survive. games that you can play on Steam right now. So how would they handle that? Entirely, they would need to throw in bonuses, I guess. There's Ghost Babel. There's Acid and Acid 2 left. Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus. I never really played too much Portable Ops. I would love an HD collection. And then Revengeance and Metal Gear Solid 5, you know, both of those things. And Survive. So if they want to do a second one, you would have to do Metal Gear Solid 4. I could see them getting away with not doing Peace Walker. And then just being like, here's, you know, Ghost Babel, and then Acid 1 and 2, and Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus. And then a Metal Gear Solid 3 collection would be Peace Walker, Revengeance, and what? 5 and Survive, but then that feels like there's too many games in 3 that are mainline than 2. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see how they're going to handle it. Because they let off pretty much with a bang with the Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 collection. Having Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. Also had the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. And then those PSP motion graphic novels, motion comics, were also in that. Like, that was a really great collection in terms of, like, the games provided. Now in the second one, it's like, well, if you did 3, you have to do 4. But then also do Peace Walker, which was supposed to be 5, is the next main one that they made. And then what little things do you add in? And there are too many little things to spread around evenly that make sense chronologically to me. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I want to platinum all of them. I still have the PS3 version of Metal Gear Solid 2 to do, and 4 to still platinum. Those are big, hefty platinums. And then last year started Metal Gear Solid 3 on PS5? I think I did. Did 5 or 4? PS5, I think. Started to work on the platinum for that. Did one playthrough, and I'm like, cool. There's a few more trophies. This is more than just a one playthrough thing. I also made a mistake and missed a collectible, which bummed me out. That's what happened to me on PS3 at the time. God, I can barely see. I think that was all of them. Sweet. One of them must have killed themselves. That funny. Yes, they are working on a Metal Gear Solid Volume 2. Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2. Happy for that. I want more people to play those games. Metal Gear Solid 4 is, within the series, the most divisive one. But I view Metal Gear Solid 4 as I don't want to say more subversive, but people didn't want the Solid Snake switcheroo when Metal Gear Solid 2 happened. And those same types of people didn't like that Metal Gear Solid 3 was a prequel. And so Metal Gear Solid 4 was like, okay, fine, here's Solid Snake, and here's everything you wanted. And we're going to be relentless with that as well. We're going to answer questions you did not ask and honestly don't want to know the answers to. We're going to do it. Yes, the ending cutscenes are like 2.5 hours long, if that, probably more. Yes, we're going to spoil shit in, like, the attract screen for the game. The Snake putting the gun in his mouth at the end of the video game. I didn't actually see that at the time. We hopped in straight away. But still, because we want you to be so confused. Yes, we're going to do this weird RoboCop rip-off where the beginning of the game has all these TV shows flipped through of, like, the weird, crazy future Metal Gear Solid 4 takes place in. But then not establish that it's being viewed through a television, so it just looks like weird shit. That was a miss. Metal Gear Solid 4 is an amazing video game. I have not played Metal Gear Solid 4 in maybe 13 years. But it's an amazing video game still, nonetheless. And I would like to platinum it. I gotta finish Metal Gear Solid 2 first. On PS3, nonetheless. Yeah, I love Metal Gear. And then finally on our... God, these tanks. Finally on our agenda here, Annapurna Interactive. Not to be confused with its sister company or subdivision, Annapurna Pictures, Annapurna Studios, the movie company. Annapurna Interactive, the publisher of many a hit video game like Stray and The Outer Wilds, and a lot more that are at the tip of my head. Donut County, Donut Country. There's a lot. All of its staff, every single staff member at Annapurna Interactive quit in unison. In an amazing display of actual... God, this is insane. In an amazing display of actual unity, even amongst a non-unionized workplace, these people all collectively decided, hey, we are not getting the thing that we want. We quit. You need us more than we need you. I forget the lady's name, but the woman that's in charge of it is the daughter of Oracle CEO something or other. I forgot his name as well. So she came into money, loves having that control over company. That's what these types of people love. Shooting so fast. Yeah, so Annapurna was funding, and still funding. They have a relationship with Remedy. Annapurna Pictures, Ellison, that's the name. CEO's last name. Annapurna Pictures is helping with the Alan Wake movie. But then, yes, there is, funding help thing with Control 2. I loved Control. I platinumed Control on PlayStation 4. I gotta go back and do the PlayStation 5 version at some point, but the save file doesn't transfer, and that kind of makes me feel like, eh. I bought the DLC for Control and never played it. Do that. But if I'm gonna do that, I might as well do that on PS5, not PS4. But I paid for the PS4 one. So I don't know. I don't know. Obviously that doesn't mean that the company is gone. It just means that Ellison needs to hire a bunch of people to do the work of an entire staff. It was only 25 people, and they're a publisher. They're not making video games, but still, these are people that knew what they were doing. Like, Annapurna is basic, I want to say it's like the A24 of video games. But they were a company that, like, only really ever had hits. That makes sense? They were constantly publishing really good, high-quality indie games. I mean, everyone loves The Outer Wilds. Stray was a huge hit. That was the kiddie game. Yes, in the chat, Alan Wake 2 to the platinum. I would love to. Hey, and the PlayStation 5 Pro is supposedly going to make that game look even better. I haven't gotten too far in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. For whatever reason, I stopped playing that when other things came out. And I don't know, I just have this weird, like, reluctance to start it back up. But now I hear the PS5 Pro, a $700 machine, insane, is going to actually, like, make that game's performance mode not run like shit. Maybe I'll wait till that. I'm not in any rush to play that game, so I guess I could wait till if I ever get that console, or at least when I decide if I'm going to get it or not. Jesus, they can run through the lasers? Okay. I gotta focus here. I'm gonna run behind this. Insane. I think we're in the final stretch of 10 levels, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta, like, start by moving immediately. Otherwise, I die. Yeah, all of Annapurna's staff quit. They were in negotiations for spinning off that division as its own company. So they were basically like, hey, we would like to have nothing to do with you. How much do we need to pay to get you away from us? And Ellison was probably like, hey, no, I'm used to always having things go my way. I am a spoiled Nepo baby of a software giant CEO, and I don't like this. So when Ellison stepped away from negotiations, that's when they decided, hey, fuck you, we quit. In unison, which is awesome. We'll see what those people do next. I imagine those people will then immediately be like, hey, we're going to start a new company, because that's what we were planning on doing after we left you guys anyway. And I I guess we have more money now because we didn't have to pay you off to get us the name. I'll blow my nose again. Give me a second. So I think... Oh, I had the mic on for that. So whoops. I think that... I think they're going to do fine. I think Annapurna is going to struggle. I know that... I forget what his guy's name is, but... Again, this is a test stream idea for a weekly video game news show. I will have the articles actually at hand. I read them. I read the news. I retain most of it, but not names. I guess one of the founders or whatever of Annapurna, who had previously retired or left, is emergency called back in action, and he's back to help them, you know, survive. We'll see. We've seen outgrowing statements from the different indie game companies that have had Annapurna as their publisher come out and say, hey, we're fine. Hey, our game is being published by them. Be played soon. Nothing is... It's not canceled or anything like that. Oh, those rockets are faster than mine. So I don't think anything's going to change. I can just see Annapurna itself having a bit of a headache, and we'll see how well they are received by the general gaming public. When it comes to like unionization and layoffs, which just happened, but like, hey, screw you, we quit. You're ruining our ability to do our job. People don't tend to look fondly on like the remnants of the people that are still there in the company. Like when Telltale all got laid off, and then some other freaks just bought the name, and like, yeah, we own some of this stuff. Let's start working on stuff. People stopped giving a shit. They're like, you aren't the same people. It's literally a name only. Brands do not make video games. People make video games. I think every contract that Annapurna has with companies like Remedy are going to be fine. Things might... It's hard to say what type of delay this would give any of those projects, because it's basically down to, like, producer notes and funding, and, like, I guess, you know, help with trailers and that type of logistics. Out of here. Alright, I think the plan... Oh, he's coming for me. Shit. Nice! Did it. Finally. That was level 20. You have to do 10 more levels and we have the platinum. Sam Blake will figure it out. I think Remedy's fine. Remedy has funding from a lot of different places, including Rockstar, because they own Max Payne, and that whole relationship with them and Remedy kind of sucks. If you remember when Rockstar had sued, or was going to sue Remedy, this was like last year, for their logo, their newish logo, because it looked too closely to the Rockstar R, but then like, that was Take-Two doing it, who owns Rockstar, not Rockstar itself, and then there's subsidiaries that handle, you know, international business and whatnot. Not quite the same as, hey, yep, here's a bunch of money to develop a game that we are publishing. Also, we're going to sue you now. I don't think it's exactly like that, but I never really liked the fact that Rockstar's like, no, we own Max Payne, a game series we have no interest in. We made Max Payne 3, and the shooting is the only thing people talk about. It's kind of comical how that game had like this drug addiction overtone that Max Payne has, and it's definitely that 2010s era Rockstar wank off hubris of like, just so fucking cool, we're Rockstar. We're the guys that insist you still have to tap the X button to sprint. We're those guys. In this day and age where that is Not necessary. Ah. Dead. But yeah, that's kind of all over the news. We went through all 6 of those news pieces. Again, that PlayStation 5 Pro, it's priced at $700 because they know the market for that machine. They have their evidence from the PS5 Pro, which has a better marketing pitch than the PS4 Pro, the better marketing pitch than the PS5 Pro does, and they know how that turned out. And they're like, okay, it is our hardcore users that will be buying this machine. So let's price it for them, because those people do not care how much money it costs, and the economy and blah blah blah. Let's make a lot of money. So. All right, I believe there is 9 levels left. Wait, I hit restart. Hold on, I don't want to do this one again. I quit. Start game. Okay, here we go. Wait. Maybe because I hit restart, I had to do it again? I have not been paying attention. I'm dead. Other things, I have been playing the Castlevania Advance Collection. I got it a year ago when it was on sale. I think I booted it up very briefly. Played a little bit of Circle of the Moon. It was like, yep, this is that Game Boy Advance game that I think is okay. And I played on the Wii U. But then the DS Castlevania games had their collection come out, and I'm like, oh man, I'm behind. And I'm more interested in the DS ones because I never played those. I played all the Game Boy Advance games, but I never played the DS ones. And I really wanted to do that, but I'm like, I'm not going to buy another Castlevania collection if I haven't finished the first one that I have. I still also have to platinum that Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood collection as well. I'd have the Rondo of Blood trophies left to do. So while I wait for a sale for the Dominus collection on the DS, I'm like, hey, I'm going to play the advanced games. So I played through Circle of the Moon. I played through Harmony of Dissonance. I got those trophies. Fun video games. And now I'm working through Aria of Sorrow. I started that up yesterday. I recommend them. I think they're really good. Even Circle of the Moon. I think in hindsight, it's very easy to be like, oh, this one's the worst. But within the context of when it came out, perfectly reasonable. There's a couple stupid little things it has, but it's a fine layout for a map. It's a fine game overall. Harmony of Dissonance has a much more arcadey combat system, which I like more than Aria of Sorrow. I like the ability to L1 and R1, or left and right on the Game Boy Advance, dash like crazy and attack. Like, it felt very Twitch-based. I moved into that missile. That's not good. I moved into the missile. Harmony of Dissonance is a very fun playing game, but its 2 castles system makes it feel a lot slower than it used to. I get what they were doing. Oh, Symphony of the Night had a duplicate version of the castle that was upside down that you could find for the good ending. Harmony of Dissonance was like, hey, what if it's the same castle layout, not upside down, and you have to hop back and forth between them? And it leads to a much more confusing critical path, if that makes sense. Aria of Sorrow has the biggest map, and it has just 1 castle. And it has a much more collecting mentality, and for a handheld game of the, to my opinion, peak Pokemon handheld era, Game Boy Advance and the DS, the idea of like, yeah, like every enemy has a % chance to drop their soul, and then you can use them as weapons and stuff, like collect them all. That is fun to do. Hold on 1 second. So yeah, I've been playing that through that. I plan on platinuming it soon. After we platinum this toy tank game, I will be at 195 platinum trophies. Which means I need to start really thinking about what I want my 200th platinum to be. Oh, I moved into that. Now, I've said on the Sonic Movie Show, a weekly podcast, new episode airs tomorrow, by the way. New episode of the Sonic Movie Show that coming out tomorrow is a review of the, oh man, I think it's 2010? It's 2010. Animated Resident Evil film, Resident Evil Damnation. That episode's out tomorrow. Check it out. We have a couple episodes left this month that are in the can already and waiting to go. Every Sunday, check out the podcast. But in a previous episode of the podcast, I was like, hey, my very first platinum trophy was Sonic Generations. Back on the PlayStation 3. Back on PlayStation 3. Sorry, hiccuping. It would be neat if my 200th was the remaster of Sonic Generations. I don't think that's gonna be the case because I don't want to like not play games. Excuse me. While I wait for that to platinum it. Elden Ring? No, it's not gonna be Elden Ring. I still have to finish Dark Souls 3. I haven't finished that game, let alone that platinum. I took a massive break from it. Maybe it will be Balatro. They updated it to make it easier, and I haven't played it since. Oh, God. Okay, the music in this isn't bad. To put this on, I actually had an idea. It'd be fun to like rank these Stinky Platinums that we play on stream. Maybe I'll start that. Next time we do one of these, I'll have a list going. Because right now, this is the only one. I'm not counting the jumping games. But this would in that range of Stinky Platinums I kind of described earlier of like amateurish video game that someone just wanted to make a video game, and here it is, versus like absolute slop, asset-generated, asset-flipping video games. This is definitely on that, like, this is just a normal video game. It's just extremely amateurish, and has easy trophies. That's what makes it stinky. Quality on this one isn't bad. There have been really bad games that we have played. And I have platinum. Oh, come on, they didn't hit any of them? Back up. But this isn't bad for what this is. And after this, I'll have 5 platinums left. I imagine I will platinum. Nice hit. Nice hit. I imagine I will platinum that Castlevania Advance Collection before 200. I don't really think I want that to be my 200th. Maybe it'll be Metal Gear Solid 3. Maybe we'll do streams for it. Maybe it could be Dark Souls 3. I don't want to stream that, though. And I kind of like the idea of streaming my 200th. So maybe Metal Gear Solid 3 on PS5 will be number 200. Or maybe by the time Generations comes out, we'll have it. But I do want to do these streams every week, so we have to keep it moving. Died at the same time. Do I win? Level fail. But yeah, I have a list. A really long list of games that I want to platinum, could platinum, could see myself maybe platinuming one day, and a lot on there. Elden Ring is on there. Every From Software game is on there. I did actually platinum a few months ago From Software's VR game, Deracine. A very cute and touching little story. Someone in the chat asked, did you see the news about Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica? Recent news, or that rumor that they're being remade next? I have heard that a while ago. And that was like coinciding with the reiteration of the rumor that Resident Evil 9 is open world, probably in like Raccoon City or in a city. That's what they mean, presumably. And is one, like, there is within Capcom a trilogy of open world games that they are, developing. Dragon's Dogma 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, and Resident Evil 9. But then, yes, a part of that also was Code Veronica, and Resident Evil 0 was also like, oh, they're getting remakes as well. We'll see. I have Resident Evil 0. I actually have... Let me talk about it on the episode that's going up tomorrow, but I still have the Resident Evil remake for GameCube sealed. We never opened this. And then I also have Resident Evil 0 on GameCube, which is opened. So I will never open this up. It is worth some money. Some money. A decent amount of money. Decently good amount of money. Because that's what GameCube collecting kind of is. Decent amount of money. Get over that. No, but they have ricochets. Ah. I moved into that. Fun. Okay, so the Code Veronica and 0 were leaked by someone unreliable. Yeah, I mean, Resident Evil is back into cash cow territory, and they're in a good state where that's a franchise that feels like they're the most blockbustery type of video game franchise that's out there, where people are like, yeah, I'll take another one of those. I play through it, like 6 to 8 hours, finish the game, sweet. See ya. People love that. It's good because they're not games that are like really bogging you down with extra shit to do to pad out length so that it justifies its price. People are like, hey, here's a fun video game. You're gonna get your thrills and your scares and all that jazz. Here you go. Because of that, development time isn't that long. And because of that, those teams can work on new games quicker. I have a rant about PC gaming and how that has elongated development times on video games. We're going to save that for another episode. Oh. Damn, dead. But yeah, lots to platinum, lots to play. I still have to get through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16. I never finished that game. And then I went to boot it up probably like a month or two ago after I platinumed and finished Spider-Man 2, which was another game I stopped playing. I went back to that game, I'm like, cool, let's keep it going. Final Fantasy 16 came out before 7 Rebirth, so let's do that one first. And I got farther in that game. I was in the middle of a chapter that's like at the climax, and I'm like forgetting the very easy combat, like with the flow to it. I'm like, oh, this is gonna take a while to get into. Spider-Man 2 is just so easy that I'm like, easy in a different way, where I'm like, it's much more approachable, where I'm like, oh, I just want something that is, I can just kind of do. And Final Fantasy 16 got to that point, but I need to reteach myself. So I guess still gotta get back to that. There's a lot of games that are coming out, a lot of games that are out that I'm vaguely interested in. I am interested in Dragon's Dogma 2, but I don't know if I want to play an 80-hour RPG. I don't know. And people already have kind of moved on from that game, which is, I guess, acceptable. many more levels of these do we have left? Not good. Yeah, and then there's Dead Rising, Director's Remake, DRDR. Cool. I have very little experience with that franchise. I know the original on Xbox 360 was very beloved. I know that the second one was different, but cool. I know that the third one was divisive, but it was like a launch game or a launch window game for the Xbox One, so it was like, oh, but like, don't worry, there's gonna be more. And then 4 was like a big letdown to people. So it's smart to like just, hey, we're gonna test the waters with this franchise again. Bring back the first one. That's the one everyone likes. There's nothing wrong with that one, according to the fans. Let's bring that one back, see how much it sells, and, you know, we'll see. If it sells well, they will do it again. The Capcom test is real. They do it all the time. This Marvel vs. Capcom collection, I don't know why I'm pointing this way. I don't have it. But that new Marvel vs. Capcom collection that's either out right now or about to come out, if that sells well, there will be a Marvel vs. Capcom 4. It's just the way it is. I remember back on the PlayStation 3 days, there was that Darkstalkers collection game on PS3 and Xbox 360. Sold like dog shit, so they considered that franchise dead. They also did, at the same time, or close to it, that Street Fighter 3 Third Strike port. Both of those are really good ports, by the way. Third Strike and Darkstalkers collection. But they sold poorly. So Capcom's like, eh. And they do this test. So like, there's this Marvel vs. Capcom fighting collection, arcade classics. You have to specify that. But they also made a regular Capcom fighting collection. That must have sold well enough, because there's the collection volume 2 coming out next year. So, if things sell well enough... Did I beat that level? Wait, okay, so there isn't just a next level of the possible. Man, I want to get through this game. This game is fine, but it is a lot harder than I thought. There was a tank game on the Wii. It was a part of Wii Play. I don't know if people remember that. That was a time capsule. Wii Play. Collection of, I think, 9 small, tiny games. There was a tank game just like this on that, but that was a lot more fair. But I'm talking while playing, so I'm not paying too much attention. Yeah, Wii Play. Fun fact, because back when I had software modded my Wii and jailbroke it, essentially, one of the things you could do was take your disc copies of Wii games and back them up to a hard drive and play them off the hard drive. So I did that for all my Wii games. I'm like, sweet. I don't have to swap the discs anymore. That's awesome. This was in the Wii era, so there wasn't like every video game being digital on PS3 and Xbox 360, let alone Nintendo, right? And through that I realized, wow, Wii Play is 11 megabytes. This DVD, which is possible to hold 8.5 gigs, has 11 megabytes of data on it. That is embarrassing. They could put it on an SD card instead. But hey, it's not about the file size. It's about, you know, what they're doing with it. I knew that was going to happen. I need to blow my nose again. I'm getting sick. Apologize that I have to keep doing that. I was sick all day, but as soon as I have to start talking a whole bunch, then it's like, alright, yeah, we're gonna flood that nose. I was sick Wednesday too, but then it went away. So, I don't know. Okay, can I survive? Sweet. No! Oh, I didn't know where I was. Ah, bummer. But yeah, Capcom, they've made a comeback. Everyone knows during the PlayStation 3 era, the Xbox 360 era, and the Wii era, they made a lot of bad decisions. Keiji Inafune, who would bolt from that company after spearheading all of the bad decisions that were made, went on to also be a scam artist with his Mighty Number 9 nonsense, whatnot. But wow, I just went straight into that one. They made a lot of bad decisions, which lost them a lot of money. They're like, oh yeah, Japanese games suck, I guess, they had that thought. So why don't we hire and contract out Western studios to reboot all of our franchises? That's how you get that awful Bionic Commando game. That's how you get the very mediocre Ninja Theory developed Devil May Cry game, DMC, which actually had an anger towards people who liked the original games. All that stuff, a bunch of bad decisions. Basically, lost the company a lot of money. And the original Dragon's Dogma, released in 2012, needed to save the company. It was basically like, hey, we need this game to sell a lot. Capcom needed it to be Skyrim for them. Skyrim came out the year before, so that's why they were talking about it. And it sold pretty well. Not Skyrim, but it sold pretty well. It was unique to a lot of people. And that allowed them some survivability. But through that, they still needed to make some, tight budget cuts and work on a budget. Street Fighter V, historically, launched in a dogshit state with very little to do for a $60 game that wanted to have microtransactions and season passes. A fighting game model of a season pass for characters. Very new. Killer Instinct did it on the launch of Xbox One. Sorry. But it's still pretty new. So the idea of I got the game at launch. I pre-ordered Street Fighter V digitally on my PlayStation 4, something I never do. I did it so I could play the beta because Amazon wasn't giving me a code for it, so I canceled my pre-order for that. Launched on my birthday in 2016. And it felt weird to me that wow, they're already going to have a DLC character out next month? And then the month after that? I think the month after that. Alex was the first DLC character, and then Guile was after that. And then Juri, I think? No, then Balrog, then Juri. A character like Guile should be in the game at launch because he's one of the defining Street Fighter characters. Why? And he's not like an Akuma where it's yeah, you're going to want him, so you're going to buy him. It's it's just weird. Street Fighter 6 obviously had all of those 8 original World Warriors in them at launch, thankfully. But yeah, Street Fighter V basically had no budget. It's exclusive to PlayStation 4, and it's on PC. But it's not on Xbox because Sony funded them, to my knowledge, the majority of Street Fighter V back in the day. And then, during the development of that, they start also getting a contract for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Disney had acquired Marvel pretty recently, and they were figuring out what they wanted as a brand. They didn't own X-Men yet. So guess what? Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, no Wolverine. We're going to focus on the characters in the movies. And also, we're Disney, but you can fund your own video game. And so that's why a lot of the character models were reused from Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And in the different lighting solution, I think that game was also Unreal Engine 4, like Street Fighter 5 was, I think. Those character models look terrible. Chun-Li looked worse than a game that came out the year prior. How does that happen? So Capcom really needed to turn themselves around, and they did with Resident Evil 7. That was the launch game for their new engine, RE Engine. RE Engine doesn't stand for Resident Evil Engine, it stands for Reach for the Moon Engine. strange. Resident Evil 7 would sell a lot. It was a new direction for the franchise. First person, back to survival horror, or just horror in general, opposed to the, like, stupid action that was Resident Evil 6, that was born off of Resident Evil 5's huge success, to be fair. Then the year after Resident Evil 7, in 2018, would become Monster Hunter World, which was Capcom at the time, maybe even still, but definitely at the time, best-selling game ever. Monster Hunter World on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and Steam. Best-selling game Capcom has ever made. Sweet. Now they have a lot of money. Now they can afford to be like, alright, let's get a Resident Evil 2 remake going. And 3 going. And Resident Evil 8. And other things as well. So Capcom's in a good spot now. Street Fighter 6 actually launches in a respectable state, despite its kind of gross battle pass system. But that's just the way. I don't want to excuse games these days by saying that's just the way they are. That is just the way they are. $60 game has to have DLC and microtransaction and battle passes. Just the way it is. And get the battle pass stuff in Street Fighter 6 because it's not stuff for the characters, it's stuff for your weird avatar guy. I don't like my avatar guy, so I don't really want to dress him up as a Ninja Turtle or as Final Fight characters or Fatal Fury characters. But Street Fighter 6 is an excellent game. That's a game I still have to platinum. And I got that digitally, so I own the PS4 version as well. Yeah. Gotta work on those. There's a lot of fighting game platinums that I started that I need to finish. Street Fighter 5 might be one of them one day. When that game starts to die down more and it's easier to boost in ranked, I'll probably go for that platinum. I have to get to gold rank in it. I made a video, what makes a good trophy list, here on the channel. And in it for fighting games, I talk about how their lists should not require ranks. Some wins, but mostly just playing online is fine. It should be more so about the mechanics and offline modes, like, hey, unlock all the characters if they're still locked. And beat arcade mode with X amount of characters. All that stuff's fine. But like having to actually be really good online is a buzzkill for a trophy list. What? Oh my god, die! Not me! The other guy. Other guy needed to die. Man. How many more of these are left? Okay, I got 2 of them immediately. Nice. Alright, we have to move on. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. It wasn't angled correctly. Nice. Would that be dirty, please? The dice should, like, be a physics object. You know what I mean? Oh, my controller battery's low. Things have like 30 minutes of battery, feels like. Nice. Alright, we're cruising now. There it is! That's the platinum. Well, that's not the platinum. That's the platinum. It's down there. Platinum Tank. You can tell this was a Radalika published game because it has the word platinum in the platinum's name. Alright, so I think that is going to round out the episode. Thank you all for watching this test episode for a potential show I want to do. Every Saturday, 8 p.m., we recap the games, the week's gaming news, while getting some Stinky Platinums. Thank you all for stopping by. Remember, new episode of the Sonic Movie Show airs tomorrow. It is a review of Resident Evil Damnation. 2010, I believe, film. So check that out. Give this a like, please. Comment below if you're watching later as a video. Let me know what you think about this whole setup. I put a lot of work into this, and I'm still having to test some stuff out and figure out how I want to do certain things, but let me know what you think. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Goodbye. I have to end. I have to, like, hit stop stream.